Hey everybody, you're watching We the Fandom, where we discuss comic books, pop culture, and the fandom experience. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel to see more content. How's it going, everybody? Jacob here at We the Fandom with my full review of Black Widow. I'll be talking about the plot, Easter eggs, as well as the post-credit scene at the end. I did post my first reaction a few days ago, which I will be putting in the description below. Feel free to check it out. It was really just broad strokes, talking about stuff I generally liked as well as disliked, so I'll try not to repeat things. This will be more of a recap of the movie. Black Widow starts off with a flashback to when Natasha and Yelena Belova were children being raised in Ohio by Melina Vostokov, a former Black Widow, and Alexei Shostakov, the Red Guardian. Though at this point, they were pretending to be an American family in order for Alexei and Melina to execute their mission to steal data from the US government. We get some insight into the differences between Natasha and Yelena as they are playing, and when Yelena gets hurt, her mother tells her that pain makes you stronger, and this will become a recurring theme throughout the movie. Natasha, on the other hand, kind of had this disconnected reaction to her sister getting hurt, which definitely seems weird at first, but you find out it's because at this point, Natasha had actually already been through the Red Room once, unlike Yelena. The family ends up needing to escape the US to Cuba as S.H.I.E.L.D. is after them, and during the escape, Melina gets shot, and she is thought to be dead by Natasha and Yelena. We also meet Dreykov in Cuba, who is going to be the main villain and is the one in charge of the mission as well as the Red Room, but it was at this point that the family is separated. Alexei supposedly gets to go back to being the Red Guardian after this long undercover mission. The two girls get sent to the Red Room, and as I mentioned before, we believe that Melina is dead at this point. Now we pick up back in 2016, and remember this movie takes place right after Civil War, so Black Widow is on the run after helping Captain America, and she is currently being hunted down by Secretary Ross. But using the tracker that they had placed on her, she pulls the old bait and switch, and while they're looking for her in one place, she's actually heading to a safe house in Norway, which is set up by Rick Mason, who in my Taskmaster video I had theorized was actually going to end up being Taskmaster. He is not. In fact, he is such a minor character in this movie that I probably won't mention him again until the end of the video. He's basically just Natasha's contact when she needs gear and supplies. Meanwhile, we also get introduced to the adult Yelena Belova, who is currently leading a squad of Black Widows to go after a woman carrying a case full of vials. Yelena catches up to her and kills her, but not before the woman exposes Yelena to one of the vials, apparently releasing her from some form of control. And she realizes that the woman was a former widow herself who had escaped. But now Yelena herself is on the run, and the current holder of these vials, which will become a key point to the plot of the movie. Following the revelation that Yelena Belova has gone rogue, Dreykov, leader of the Red Room, sends out his agent Taskmaster. And at first I thought Taskmaster was going to be sent after Yelena, but here's the thing. Natasha apparently has safe houses all over the world, used to have one in Budapest, and this is where Yelena had gone after she went rogue and delivers the vials that she had got to that safe house. Upon arriving to her safe house / trailer in Norway, Natasha has a box of mail from that Budapest safe house that she received from Rick Mason, and in that box of mail is included the case containing the vials. But she doesn't know that at first. She actually plans on taking all the mail to a dump, and while on the road, her car gets blown up on a bridge. She does survive, but Taskmaster shows up and they get into this really cool fight because Taskmaster is copying her moves. He's using some of Captain America's moves, maybe some of Spider-Man's as well. But during the fight, Natasha figures out the Taskmaster is actually after the case, not her. And while she does end up getting knocked off the bridge into the river, she did manage to swipe the vials from the case. And from there, she makes her way to Budapest to meet Yelena. So if you've seen the trailers, you've seen this part of the fight between Yelena and Natasha when they first meet, which occurs because they're both unsure if they can actually trust each other. But after a truce, we get a few revelations as they are getting reacquainted, such as the fact that Natasha wasn't aware that the Red Room was actually still in existence because, and this is paying off that whole Budapest story we've kept hearing about between Black Widow and Hawkeye over the years, when Natasha deserted the Red Room and joined S.H.I.E.L.D., her first mission was to kill Dreykov, but to do so, it was necessary that she also kills Dreykov's daughter, something that has haunted her ever since. The Budapest story was a little bit of a letdown because there wasn't a flashback with Hawkeye or anything, it was really more of just a reference. But the two decide that they're going to work together to take down the Red Room, which they can do with the vials, as Yelena explains that unlike when Natasha was still a widow, the Red Room doesn't just use psychological conditioning, but chemical conditioning, and that the vials actually contain a counter agent that frees the widows. Unfortunately, neither of them know where the Red Room is located because it's constantly moving, so they need to find someone they think will know. Enter Alexei Shostakov again, now in prison, slightly balding and fat, a little reminiscent of Fat Thor from Avengers Endgame, but still retaining his super soldier strength. although he is disgraced as the former Red Guardian among the prison guards. Basically, Natasha and Yelena concocted a plan to stage a jailbreak, smuggling an earpiece into Alexei using a Red Guardian action figure, guiding him to the exit where they are outside with a helicopter. There are a couple of cool fight scenes during the prison break. They do struggle a bit, and their escape causes an avalanche, but they are able to get away. However, it turns out Alexei doesn't know where the Red Room is either, but mentions that Melina might know. So now they head for Melina, who Natasha and Yelena are surprised to learn is still alive. And I wanted to take a quick second to mention an Easter egg, actually two of them. During the prison scene, as Alexei keeps arm wrestling a bunch of dudes, one of them who comes up is this really huge guy who Alexei calls Ursa, and after winning and breaking his arm, Alexei makes fun of him, calling him the Big Bear. In the comics, a version of Red Guardian is a part of a Russian super team called Winter Guard, alongside a mutant who can turn himself into a bear named Ursa Major. And another Easter egg, which actually takes place a little bit later in the movie, Yelena calls Alexei the Crimson Dynamo, who in the comics is also another member of the Winter Guard who wears an Iron Man type suit. But now the family reunites when Natasha, Alexei, and Yelena get to Melina's house in St. Petersburg, and after a few moments where it seems like the family is almost like they were when Natasha and Yelena were kids, Melina, demonstrating with her pet/experiment pigs, reveals that she's actually the one who created the chemical manipulation of the widows, and that was actually the information that she and Alexei had obtained all those years ago when they were on that undercover mission in America. After Yelena storms off and Alexei tries to talk to her, Melina reveals to Natasha that she had alerted the Red Room when they arrived, which honestly I wasn't expecting her to betray them, or the fact that she was actually behind the chemical manipulation, especially because when they arrived at Melina's house, there seemed to be some genuine bonding going on, at least on the part of Melina and Alexei towards Natasha and Yelena. Of course, a bunch of agents from the Red Room show up. There isn't really much of a fight. Alexei, Natasha, and Yelena are easily subdued. They all get taken to the Red Room, which turns out to be a flying fortress. I'm not sure exactly how that stays hidden, just flying around the sky like that. But when confronted with Dreykov, Melina reveals herself to be Natasha in disguise, and vice versa, because they had secretly come up with a plan to kill Dreykov and land the Red Room to be taken by Secretary Ross, who Natasha had sent a signal to. Natasha ends up having to fight off a whole room of widows after finding out that Dreykov has a worldwide operation that he controls from behind the scenes, and just when she's about to be killed, she ends up being saved by Yelena, who exposes all those widows to the gas. Also, Yelena ends up being the one who kills Dreykov, not Natasha, as he tries to escape by blowing up his helicopter, with Taskmaster originally left to fight Natasha, and I had already talked about the reveal of Taskmaster's identity in the last video, so I'm not going to go too in depth on that, but Taskmaster is Dreykov's thought to be dead daughter Antonia, who fights Natasha, fights Red Guardian and Melina, and then Natasha once more at the very end, who's able to defeat her and expose her to the gas, freeing her from her father's control. I know I said I wouldn't get too much in depth, but I wanted to add another problem I had with how Taskmaster was portrayed, that being, with Antonia being microchipped and having no free will, she basically just goes around like a drone throughout the entire movie. And I get that that's kind of supposed to go along with the theme of the movie, but we didn't get to have Tony Masters' personality. Like, Tony Masters in the comics is not robotic at all. The guy's got attitude, because he's the most prodigious fighter in the Marvel Universe, and he knows it. But the fight's over, Dreykov's dead, Taskmaster is freed, and the last we see of the characters, Alexei, Melina, Yelena, and the former Black Widows all leave together, though we don't know where they actually end up going. Natasha meets up with Rick Mason again, who is able to acquire an old Quinjet for her, which she's going to use to help Steve Rogers break Team Cap out of the raft after Civil War, because this movie takes place between the time that she helps Cap escape and when Cap breaks Sam Wilson and the others out of the raft. Now for the post-credit scene. So we see Yelena Belova visiting the grave of Natasha. This is obviously taking place after Avengers Endgame, and as she's cleaning up around the gravestone, she is suddenly met by Valentina de Fontaine, the woman who showed up to recruit John Walker at the end of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's obvious from their dialogue that the two have been working together for a while, and Valentina showed up with a new mission offering Yelena the opportunity to kill Clint Barton, pictured in his Ronin costume, which is definitely interesting. I'm sure this will be part of the plot of the Hawkeye Disney Plus series. It's also interesting to see this team that Valentina is building, and I'm really excited to see who else is on it. But if you guys notice any Easter eggs that I missed, feel free to let me know, and as always, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.